flight she proposed to make is one that has never been accomplished, round the world by the equator. For the hop across the Pacific, Miss Earhart takes a co-pilot.
It's one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. Where is the wreckage of Amelia Earhart's plane?
Pacific. On the last lap of her magnificent flight round the world by way of the equator, Miss Amelia Earhart was lost in mid-ocean. On the 2,500-mile hop to Howland Island, she was reported missing.
Amelia Earhart's Lockheed 10E Electra may finally have been found. It has been one of, if not the top news story this past week, absolutely blowing up all over the world. But not everybody is convinced that they have finally found the missing aircraft. Brothers Lloyd and Tony Romeo of Deep Sea Visions may have finally solved this 86-and-a-half-year-old mystery. The vanishing of Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan is possibly the most well-known missing person case in American history. Now, we did a full-length video on this a few months ago, back before all the chaos ensued with the new sonar images that finally came out. But we'll go over the basics again about Earhart's journey and what led to this mystery. July 2nd, 1937, at 10 a.m., Earhart and Noonan took off from Lae Airfield in the very heavily loaded Electra. Their intended destination was Howland Island, a very flat sliver of land 6,500 feet long and 1,600 feet wide. The expected flying time was 20 hours. So accounting for the 2-hour time zone difference between Lae and Howland and crossing of the international date line, the aircraft was expected to arrive at Howland the morning of the next day, July 2nd. The aircraft departed with 1,100 gallons of fuel. At 3 p.m. Lae time, Earhart reported her altitude at 10,000 feet, but that they were reducing altitude due to thick clouds. Around 5 p.m., Earhart reported her altitude at 7,000 feet and a speed of 150 knots. Their last known position report was near the Nukunumu Islands, around 800 miles into the flight. In preparation for the trip, the United States Coast Guard had sent the cutter Itasca to the island. The cutter offered to ferry news reporters to the island, but it also had communication and navigation functions. The Electra expected the Itasca to transmit signals that the Electra could use as an RDF beacon to find the ship. In theory, the plane could listen for the signal while rotating the antenna. Video evidence from Lae during the takeoff suggests that the antenna mounted underneath the fuselage may have been torn off from the fuel-heavy Electra during taxi or takeoff from Lae's grass runway, although no antenna was ever reported to be found at Lae. 6:14 a.m. Another call was received. The aircraft stated that they were within 200 miles. They requested that the ship use its direction finder to provide a bearing for the aircraft. Earhart began whistling in the microphone to provide a continual signal for them to home in on. It was at this moment when the operators on the Itasca realized that their RDF system could not be tuned to the aircraft's 3,105 kHz frequency. 7:58 a.m. transmission said she could not hear the Itasca and asked them to send voice signals so she could try to take a radio bearing. The Itasca reported this as being the loudest possible signal. This indicates that Earhart and Noonan were in the immediate area. The Itasca could not send voice at that frequency she asked for. Morse code signals were sent instead. Earhart acknowledged receiving these, but said she was unable to determine their direction. Her last known transmission was at 8:43 a.m. "We are on the line 157337. We will repeat this message. We will repeat this on 6210 kilocycles. Wait." A few moments later, she was back on the same frequency, 3105 kilohertz, with the transmission that was logged as questionable. "We were running on line north and south." The transmission seemed to imply that her and Noonan believed they had reached Howland Island's charted position. This is incorrect by about 5 nautical miles. Now the Romeo brothers. They used an autonomous underwater vehicle, the Hugin 6000. They searched around Howland Island to try to finally solve this mystery, and it's possible that they actually did. The brothers have done a ton of interviews over the past week about this, and they've explained that they followed the evidence to a T, exactly what was laid out to get them to this point. Howland Island is where Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were headed. The Navy ship that was stationed at Howland Island to help assist Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan navigate, when they heard Amelia's signal, they literally thought she was right on top of them. They thought they could just look out and see her. The signal was that strong. So the brothers, they basically put together this company. They spent millions of dollars to do this. And they went out and they searched for 90 days in the water around Howland Island with their underwater autonomous vehicle. So how they explained it is it basically shoots out sonar pulses, and what comes back, it shows you an image. And in the software, or however they do it, they decided to look for items on the seafloor that were between 10 and 30 meters. So anything below 10 meters, they weren't even going to bother checking it out. And anything above 30 meters, they weren't going to bother with either. So they were looking in that tiny window to try to cut down on their search time. Now in the image, it's definitely not perfect. It's blurry. It's a little tweaked from side to side. It's not 100% clear. But what you can see pretty good is those dual stabilizers in the back of the plane. The twin vertical stabilizers, just like which is on the Electra. Very few aircraft actually had these twin stabilizers on the back. So that is one of the main reasons, of course, and also where it was located, why they're pretty confident that it was Amelia Earhart's plane. But like I said in the beginning, not everybody's convinced, not by a long shot. One of the main things people bring up is, why are the wings at an angle? The Electra didn't have angled wings like that. Why is it like that in the photo? Well, the brothers have explained that due to the sonar traveling like such a great distance down to the seafloor, now they weren't doing this right on top, they were doing it quite a way down, but the distance of the sonar traveling back, the longer the distance, the more distorted and stretched the image that comes back is. That's why the wings appear to have an angle to them, and everything seems to be a little bit stretched. That's the distance that the sound is traveling back when it's getting the image off of the seafloor. So it really doesn't have angled wings. Not to that extreme. I mean, possibly, it could have crash landed a little bit, but not that. At least that's what I got from their interviews. Another question everybody wants to know is, where did they find it? What are the coordinates? What are the exact coordinates where you found it? Everybody wants to do research. Everybody wants to know where. Well, the brothers are not saying. If you made a discovery like that, would you want to put it out there for the world to know without even having it confirmed yet? Well, they're not saying. The only info that they're actually giving us is they're saying that it's within a 100-mile radius of Howland Island. And that, of course, is the island that Amelia Earhart and Fred Noonan were aiming for. Another big question is, how far down is it? How deep is it? There's a lot of people have in their minds that, she kind of crash landed on an island or something, and it's really just right under the water, and we just haven't found it yet. But not quite. Not even close. So the brothers have said that they're not giving an exact depth or anything like that, but the only thing they're telling us is it's between 15,000 and 16,000 feet. Somewhere between that. Think of the Titanic. The Titanic is 12,500 feet deep. That is thousands of feet more deep than the Titanic is. In fact, this aircraft is down almost 3 miles. It's like 2.8 miles down. That is far, 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 far. So it's got to be a distance off of the shore. I'm not sure how far the shelf drops off or anything around Howland Island, but it's in some deep water. Another question is this confirmed? Is this in fact Amelia Earhart's Electra? It's not confirmed. Not in a long shot. They have to go back. They have to verify this. This is just going off of the evidence that they used to track down where their search would be. They went out, they did their evidence, they went out and searched where they believed it to be, and they actually found something. And the image looks a whole hell of a lot like an Electra 10E. So no, it's not confirmed. They're not claiming 100% that this is the Electra. They're just saying they think it is. Off of the evidence, they believe that this is Amelia Earhart's lost aircraft. And everybody wants to know, When will we find out for sure? Is this Amelia Earhart's aircraft? When will we know 100%? Well, they explain it like this. These expeditions cost millions of dollars. They started up a company. They bought everything they needed. They've already spent $11 million. $11 million. It takes a lot of money for investigations like this, and they have to get backers, and they have to do all sorts of stuff behind the scenes. It's actually not as far ahead in the future as I thought. They're saying hopefully by the end of 2024 or early 2025, they'll be back out in the water and they'll be down searching. They already have the coordinates, so it's not like they need to go out and do a big search or anything. They just need to go out there, go down with a sub or something, an underwater sub or an underwater vehicle that can take video or photos and get down there and actually verify that this is indeed the Electra. Time will tell, really. Time will tell. The brothers aren't claiming 100% that this is indeed the aircraft. They're just saying they did their evidence. They did their research. They followed the evidence. The evidence took them to here. They went down, and guess what? That image came back at them. It's got the twin vertical stabilizers in the back. Very few aircraft actually had those twin vertical stabilizers. And you can see them pretty clearly in that image. I mean, they're there. You can see them. Now, it is not set in stone. Not a chance. Not even close. But this is the greatest bit of evidence I think we have had in the past 86 and a half years. It really is. The closest we're actually getting to find Amelia Earhart, and I really hope they found it. It'll bring some closure for Amelia Earhart's family, and we'll finally know where Amelia Earhart vanished. And Fred Noonan. We can't forget about Fred Noonan. He was on that plane as well. He had a family, friends, just like Amelia Earhart. But this story flourished in the news back then and today because of Amelia Earhart. She was America's sweetheart. Well, what I want to know from you is this the plane? What do you think? Please put it down there in the comments section. Comments, criticisms, put it down there. Let's hear your theories. Let's hear what you think about this image. So the world has been overtaken by this story, and I guess I have as well, because I've been watching the interviews. I've been listening to what the brothers have to say. It's quite fascinating, and I really hope they have found it. And we will know soon. Time will tell. I've had a blast with this story, researching, seeing what they found, seeing how they found it. It's awesome. So I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you on the next, folks. Peace.